Greetings, I'm Professor Hobo, and welcome to another HOBOTECH product review. Well, today's review isn't actually a review, but more of a how-to with one of our old friends. And that old friend is the JACKERY Explorer 1000. I get asked all the time, what can a JACKERY do? Can it power my coffee maker? Can it power my heater? What about the holy grail, the air conditioner? Can it power an air conditioner? Well, today, we're gonna find out.
HOBOTECH.
I did do a full technical review of the JACKERY Explorer 1000 way back in 2020, and I'll put that link right up here, and I'll also put it in the description in case you haven't seen it. And since then, it's been one of JACKERY's best-selling products because it's the right size, it's the right weight, it's $8.99 with my discount code. It hits the right price point. However, the biggest question most folks want to know before they buy one of these is, what can it do? So first, to give you a little refresher, I'll run over a few of the important specifications. The Explorer 1000 has a 1000 watt-hour pure sine inverter, which is one of the best in the industry. It's very safe as it includes a lot of built-in protections, and is quite difficult to accidentally break, making it a very good choice for first-time SoGen owners. And for those new to the channel, a SoGen is short for solar generator, and that's what JACKERY and many makers of these products call them. It may not be scientifically accurate, but it's a marketing term that's here to stay. So go ahead and feverishly type away in all caps, all angry in the comments, telling me how I single-handedly caused the collapse of human civilization by propagating misinformation. Your comment will be promptly ignored. The JACKERY 1000 also sports a 1000 watt-hour NMC lithium-ion battery, good for 500 cycles to 80% capacity. This means after fully charging and discharging 500 times, you lose the top 20% of the battery capacity. Now, you can greatly extend the life of NMC batteries by following a few simple rules. First, try not to fully discharge your SoGen unless you have to. Discharging down to 10 or 20% of the capacity instead of 0 will greatly extend the battery life. And if you don't need the full capacity, don't charge above 80 or 90%. This will also extend the life of the battery. Just following those two simple steps alone will more than double the life of the battery inside of this. Now, if you do need that extra battery capacity, you can go ahead and fully charge the 100%. It isn't going to do any damage, it's just going to ever so slightly reduce overall cycle life. If you plan to long-term store your JACKERY or other solar generator above room temperature conditions, only charge it to 80–90%. This gives the battery some breathing room, so if it gets too hot, the batteries have a little bit of leeway. Lithium batteries hate heat. It's their #1 enemy. If storing at or below room temperature, it's fine to go ahead and keep it charged at 100%. Now, if we're being honest here, most of you are only going to keep your JACKERY 3 to 5 years anyway, then trade up to the newest model, so don't really sweat too much about battery lifespans. Just use your product like you stole it. These products are not meant to survive 10 years of heavy cycling like lithium iron phosphate batteries. The reason JACKERY uses NMC technology is to keep their products compact and lightweight for use outdoors. Says right there, power outdoors. Tells you what kind of market they're aiming for. In my original battery capacity test, the JACKERY 1000, I discovered that 93% of the battery is actually usable. This means you can expect about 930 watt-hours of power from a 100% full charge. So we're now going to show you what the JACKERY 1000 can do and for how long. Remember that number, 930 watt-hours, as that's what we'll be basing our calculations on. Now, the formula we're going to use is very simple. In order to determine how many hours your JACKERY can run something, the formula is hours equals battery watt-hours divided by watts of appliance. So if we wish to run a 100 watt appliance, we take 930 watt-hours divided by 100 and we get 9.3 hours of runtime. It's that simple. So if you want to know how long your appliance is going to run on a JACKERY, just use this formula instead of asking me in the comments. For appliances with compressors and those that cycle on and off like refrigerators, air conditioners, freezers, that calculation gets a little more complicated. So let's go check out some samples. Our first test, we're gonna go straight to the air conditioner. So we have the JACKERY 1000 here. We have it plugged into this LG air conditioner. Now this air conditioner does not have a soft start, so I'm not even sure if it's gonna fire up. This is the first time I've ever tried it. So inverter's on, air conditioner's plugged in. Let's see what happens. Nope, it did not start. So the air conditioner tried and failed to start up. So there you have it. The JACKERY 1000 will not start a regular 5,000 BTU air conditioner if it doesn't have a soft start. Now let's go ahead and try the one in my van, because that does have a soft start built in. All right, now we're in my RV. This is a 6,000 BTU frigid air, but this has a soft start built in. So let's see if that makes a difference with the JACKERY 1000. Okay, JACKERY's turned on. Now let's turn on the air conditioner. Nope. The JACKERY tried and failed. It cannot run a window air conditioner even with a soft start. Now we know the Explorer 1000 will not run a regular household size microwave, but I have this 700 watt microwave in my RV. Let's see if it'll run that. Got some water inside, 30 seconds. Seems to be handling that just fine. So my 700 watt microwave is consuming somewhere around 1,000 watts. Just enough for the JACKERY to handle it. No problem. There you go. Got some hot water thanks to the JACKERY. So how long could the 700 watt microwave run in my RV? Well, do the math, just under an hour. Next, I have this residential chest freezer. Let's see if it'll run in the JACKERY and figure out how long it'll run. So you can see there, I don't know if you saw that, but it actually bumped up to about 1,200 watts for a couple of seconds, and the JACKERY was able to handle it. And while the compressor is running, it's only using 90 watts, which isn't too bad at all for a residential chest freezer. Now I know, because I've done measurements many times on this freezer, it uses somewhere around 350 watt hours per day. That means the JACKERY could run it for about 3 days, closer to 2.5 days. That'll get you through pretty much any normal blackout situation. And you can figure out how much your own refrigerator or freezer uses by getting a kilowatt meter, plugging it in, and measuring for 24 hours how much power it takes. Now what about a 12 volt compressor refrigerator like this VL60 by IceCo? This is a very extremely efficient refrigerator. It's dual zone. It has both a freezer and a refrigerator. So it does have a larger compressor than most, which means it does take a little bit more power than most. We have this plugged in via AC power, and it actually says that it's using about 62 watts while it's running the compressor. Basically, one side's a freezer, one side's a fridge. So because we're running it through AC power, it's actually using a little more power than it would if you plugged it into using 12 volt. If you plugged it into 12 volt, it'd be somewhere around 45 watts instead of 60 watts. So what's the difference between running AC power and 12 volt power on the JACKERY? Well, the JACKERY on 12 volt is going to be about 25% more efficient. So it's only going to take 45 watts to run the compressor instead of 60 watts like we're seeing right now. So it would save you quite a bit of power by keeping it running on 12 volts. So how long will a JACKERY 1000 run one of these cheapy $20 Walmart fans on low? So on low, we're using about 53 watts, and now on high, we're using about 70 watts. So how long does that mean that a fan will run on the JACKERY 1000? Well, on low, it'll run for about 1 3/4 days, and on high, it'll run for about a day and a quarter, day and a half. So plenty of fan time if you need it in the summer. Now let's move on to my second most favorite appliance, and that's the Instant Pot. This is a 5-quart model, which has a 900 watt coil in it, basically a heater. They don't make this one anymore to my knowledge. They do have a 3-quart, which is like 600 watts, I think, and then they have a 6-quart, which is 1,000 watts. Now, all three of those should work on the JACKERY 1000. Let me show you. Let's go ahead and put it in saute mode, and that's going to pretty much set it on maximum heat. So there you have it, just over 700 watts to run the Instant Pot. So how long could you run this Instant Pot? Well, you could run the coil in it for about an hour and 20 minutes, but because it's a pressure cooker, once it heats up, it cooks under its own heat and pressure. It only kicks on and off a little bit once in a while. So once it's heated up, you can pretty much cook for 5 or 6 hours on this without any problem whatsoever on one JACKERY charge. I've personally done 3 long cooks of about an hour on one JACKERY 1000 charge with this particular Instant Pot while I was living on the road. So what about laptop charging? You have to forgive this area, it's pretty dark. We have the JACKERY 1000 plugged into my laptop using that power delivery cable that I talked about in the last video. This would normally transfer up to 100 watts. Now, unfortunately, the Jackery 1000 is a little behind on the times when it comes to power delivery. This power delivery port only seems to be providing about 18 watts of power to my laptop, and that's just enough for very, very basic functionality. If I actually pull any real CPU intensive tasks on this, it's going to start using the internal battery, and the Jackery won't be able to keep up. Now, I can get past this by just plugging in my AC wall brick that came with the laptop, and we'll see how much power that takes. But right now, it's pulling 18 watts, and it's just keeping up with just a YouTube video playing on my laptop. If I try to do anything more intensive than this, it would certainly use more power than what the Jackery could provide through this USB cable. So I'm sure you're gonna ask, how long is this laptop gonna run in this mode on this Jackery? Well, probably about 30 to 40 hours pretty easily, and then the laptop itself has another 8 or 9 hours of solid power in it. So 2 full days going through the USB method, which is actually a very efficient way to charge. Now, I have the brick that comes with my laptop. These things aren't really that efficient. They're not good at converting AC to DC. They do the job, but they're not meant to be for like boondocking and powered off solar. They see you just plug it into your wall, and if it wastes power, who cares, right? That's pretty much the way they think about these things. Now, this is a 200 watt power supply, because like I said, this is a monster gaming laptop. It has dedicated graphics. It has a Ryzen 9 5900 series processor, so it is a really screaming fast machine. But the downside to that is that it does use a lot more power than, say, like a netbook or a Chromebook or something like that, which barely uses any power, but those are just designed for web surfing. In my case, I need something I can edit videos on when I travel. So now let's go ahead and plug this in to the AC inverter, which also wastes power. So you're doing from DC to AC, from AC to DC. So you're wasting a lot of power to do this, but this is probably what most people consider the safest way to charge a laptop, because it's taking as much power as it needs from the inverter, which is a safe, pure sine inverter, perfect for doing something like this. There's just a lot of waste involved power-wise when you go from DC to AC and then AC to DC. Now it says it's pulling 160 watts. So that's pretty crazy. It's pulling way more power than it was through the USB port. And that's probably because it's now charging the battery at the same time as I am trying to run this video. Now what I'm gonna do is give it a couple of minutes so that it tops the battery up to 60% on this, because I have it set so this laptop only charges to 60%, because I leave it plugged in all the time, and that extends the life of the built-in battery. This laptop unfortunately doesn't have a replaceable battery. So I'm just gonna wait a minute, let it level out to see how much it's actually using while I am playing this music video. So I gave it a few minutes to level out. It now is using 36 watts, which is significantly more than it was using through the USB. In fact, about twice as much. So it goes to tell you how much waste there is when you use the inverter to charge something like a laptop. So this goes to show you the difference between AC and DC charging a laptop. If you go with the DC method and charge your laptop through USB or 12 volt, you can expect, say in this case, about 3 days of runtime. But if you run through the inverter, like I am here, it's pulling about 40 watts. I'm only gonna get about 2 days of runtime. That's 48 hours of laptop. That's a lot. I mean, that's still gonna get you through lots of situations, like if you're traveling or you're blackout or whatever. You can still use Jackery 1000 to get you a couple days worth of laptop time. Let's try out a few more appliances. Let's start with this heater, because everybody wants to know, can you run a heater on a Jackery? It says on the back 1500 watts, but it does have 2 settings, low and high. So let's try the low setting. Not all that surprising. The low setting is pulling half of 1500 watts, or 750. So how long could the Jackery run this heater? About an hour and 15 minutes. Next we have a hairdryer. Now this says 1875 watts. It will never pull that much. We should be able to at least run it on low. So let's try low with low heat, about 350 watts. So on low heat, you can actually run this for about 3 hours, not too bad. Let's try high on low heat. It pulls about 675 watts. That means you can run it for about an hour and a half. Now let's try it on high heat, low fan. Jackery can do it. It says about 675 watts, or about an hour, hour and a half to run a hairdryer. Now, of course, if I put it all the way up on high, It'll run for a few seconds and then shut down. So you can't run a hairdryer on high with the JACKERY 1000. How about an induction cooker? A lot of people ask me about these, and I don't really talk about this too much because I've only really used this while I was on the road, and since I've been on the road for the last year, I haven't really used the induction cooker, but they do work on the JACKERY 1000. We'll just have to see which settings you can use because full blast is not going to work on the JACKERY, but a lot of times you don't even need full blast to cook. You can cook on the lower settings. So let's see how high we can run this particular induction cooker on the 1000. Now it says here on the back 1300 watts, so you can expect that's going to be what it's going to pull at its maximum. So I got a little cast iron skillet here, which will work on the induction stove. We're just going to go right ahead and cook on low. And pretty surprisingly, the induction cooker is pulling about 700 watts even on low, so let's look. But notice it will actually pull 700 watts, drop it to 0, and pull 700 watts again. That's how these induction cookers work on low settings. Let's go ahead and put it up on medium. Now it's pulling 800 watts. Let's try medium high, which is 375. Now we're pulling 1,000 watts. Let's go high.
You want to get high?
No, we don't want to get high.
Okay. You sure?
Yes, go away, stupid towel.
Now we're pulling 1,200 watts in a JACKERY. This is about as high as I know we can push it before it shuts down. So what are the results here of the induction cooker? Well, you can use it on pretty much every setting except the maximum on the JACKERY 1000. So you can certainly cook with one of these induction cookers. Now, how long is going to depend on which setting you use. On the lowest settings, you could easily get an hour and a half of cook time. On the medium or higher settings, you're looking at a little bit less than an hour. But in most cases, you're not going to be running one of these that long anyway. You're going to run it 10, 15, 20 minutes tops and be done. So absolutely runs an induction cooker. In fact, I used this particular one in the van for quite a long time when it was really hot in the summer. This is the best way to heat up your stuff without heating up the whole inside of your RV. So they're very efficient on electricity. They work very well. The only downside is you have to use pans with high iron content for them to work. Next appliance we have is a regular old toaster. Now this toaster on the bottom says 800 watts, so we know it's going to work on the JACKERY. Let's see how much power it actually pulls though. So it pulls about 660 watts. And that means you get about an hour and a half of toast time on the JACKERY 1000. That's a heck of a lot of toast. How about a big screen TV? Well, it looks like we're pulling about 110 watts running this 55-inch Samsung. So 110 watts, how long could you run a big screen like this? Somewhere around 8 hours. Plenty of time to get you through a blackout. And last but not least, we have a coffee maker. Some of the larger coffee machines would use 1400 watts. This one only uses 650, and I bought this specifically again to use in the van RV whenever I was kind of off-grid boondocking and I needed a drip coffee machine. So this one will work just fine. Brew now. It's using just over 500 watts, about 530 watts. Do the math, that gets you about an hour and a half of coffee making. You'll be awake for weeks.
Oh, sounds Spanish.
Hopefully this video answered your questions about what a JACKERY 1000 can do. And if you found this video format helpful, let me know in the comments below. This is kind of an experiment. And if you like this format, I'll end up doing more videos like this in the future with different brands of solar generators. And if you think this video was absolutely dumb and a waste of time, let me know that too. And if you did learn something today, be sure to give me that thumbs up below. And if you're not a subscriber already, you know what to do. That's it for now. Till next time.
Odin commands you to like and subscribe, and clean my litter box.
I almost forgot. JACKERY has given me an exclusive promo code good for 10% across the board on all their solar generator products and solar panels. So if you're interested in the JACKERY 1000 or any of the other JACKERYs like this 500, you can click the link in the description below and it will take you to their website. This code also applies across the board to all their solar generator bundles, and those include solar panels. So if you're unsure what solar panels to buy, just get those bundles. 10% works across the board for all those as well. Note that this 10% off code does not work on Amazon products. It's only for the Jackery store. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
RV Golf Guy, Medic Audio Repair, Andrew Von Roger Cardano, Brian Boovers Johnson, Jason Soroka.